Okay, welcome back. So it's been a while since I've used Adventure Synchron, and I'm not sure what it was. I was like, oh, let me just try this because I wasn't sure what I wanted to play because I've been playing RDA for the longest time now, and I was like, well, I haven't played Adventure Synchron or any Synchron variant for the last few months, so let me just try this, and then I ended up taking it because if you look at it, just the sheer size of it, it's huge. It's a 60 card variant. And it's because I wanted to play every good hand trap, basically every relevant hand trap at the moment. The whole point of interactions are making your opponent miss in the way you sequence your combo, right? You want to be able to mismatch as much as you can. So let me for example, let's say there's a particular combo that loses to Ash, and there's a combo that loses to Imperm, right? So you want to keep mismatching those because the odds of your opponent having a particular hand trap will vary, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to do. And that's the whole point of the whole logic and theory behind higher card count decks, right? Just to have a bit of variance, but still maintaining a consistency factor in what the deck is intending to do. But for the most part, I want to just play all the hand traps that are relevant at the moment, and that's pretty much quite a fair bit of them, like that can be applicable to almost any given matchup. Okay, so there was 5 rounds of Swiss and then top 8 cut. So round 1, I go up against Fiendsmith Yubel. I lose in time in game 3. I was like, okay, fair enough. I had double Vader, and then he ends up going for like the Resonator Send and then revive and gain life. Round 2 was Horus Orchist. That one was wild. Omega Changing just controlled that game. It was insane. And then round 3 was Flu. Oh my god, I get shifted twice. Game 1 and game 2. Game 1, I get shifted and I almost make a comeback. Like I was like, oh my god, it's insane. I had to go for like a punish line. It was insane. I wish I could have recorded it. That would have been awesome. So I lose that one. Round 4 was Atlantean. I win dice roll, fortunately, because like if I lost dice roll, then there's no way. You just get your hand looped, and yeah, I won that one. And then round 5 was KASHTIRA. Yeah, I just full combo both times. It was 2-0. And then top 8 was KASHTIRA Fiendsmith. It's like the new deck that's been going around since Watches Bologna. Like yeah, it's surprisingly that was like probably one of the easiest matchups. What the end on doesn't seem like it was enough. Like for the amount of engine that you play, you could have easily just pushed through it, which is kind of like what's surprising to me. Like, okay, interesting. But there was a bit of an issue because there's a time regarding the time rules. Because so game 1, I won game 1, and then game 2, time is called, but I'm lower on life. So typically, the way it was meant to go is since we're tying games in single elimination, we have to decide who goes first based on a random generator, right? Like, so, okay, so we roll the dice. What we thought was that you weren't allowed to, like, side. So, like, I have my go second side in my deck. I have, like, Evenly, Dark Rulers, freaking Lightning Storm, like, stuff I want going first. Like, I want, like, my actual stuff going first. So then we're told, okay, yeah, you have to go into game 3, no siding, and the winner of the roll has to go first. Like it has to go first. Like okay, fine. So I'm like, wow, interesting. It was a bit of a misunderstanding. Like at least we know for sure now. But like yeah, that's like yeah, annoying. I don't know. But anyways, I get knocked out at top 8. Because my hand was like, oh, I forgot what my hand was. I don't know what the hell happened. I think I remember just having nib, and I just with the whole situation, I was like, I was like, not really paying attention. So I was like, okay, well, I let him keep crumbling off. I have nib. I'm like, okay, I have nib. I should be fine. And there's a particular point when he can make Caesar. He makes Caesar, and I could have dropped nib before then, but I was just thinking about the time rules thing. I was like. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's is that how it works? Is that how it works? And I was like, oh shit. Then by the time I look back, as he had made a Caesar, I was like, oh my god. And because I already ripped the sequence, so he couldn't have gone for like any more Fiend's place. I was like, oh yeah. So that cost me the game, and I was like, oh my god, this is so annoying. But anyways, let's get straight into the deck profile. 60 cards. All right, so you have your, of course, you have your adventure package. You have your Griffin. You have your Enchantress. Your Triple Right. Okay, and then you have your Fateful, Dracoback, and of course, honorary adventure card. Fool's Burial. This dumps anything. It dumps your Synchrons. It dumps her. And then of course you have your Synchron aspect. You have your double STARDUST Synchron. You don't max them out because it's like the worst one to pair with any of your like. Okay, so the Synchrons are like the worst and best part of your deck. They're the best because it's what allows you to build your insane board, right? But they're the worst because you do not want to see them. You don't want to open them. You know, you want to get them out through like Wanted Engine, through Overtake. You know, you want to get them out that way. Like that's because these are part of the worst part of your deck, even though they're like the best part as well because it facilitates your end goal, right? You need two of this because sometimes you need to be able to summon something off speeder. Because I noticed that you could possibly get away with one, but because you play OSS and Overtake, you know what I mean? Because it makes it kind of weird sometimes when you like, okay, well, damn. You're kind of forced to use one over the other, right? Like, let's say you have OSS, then you have to use OSS first instead of Overtake, you know, so it makes it kind of weird. And then just one of each Synchron seems fine. And the reason you don't play one of Stardust is because there's some combos where you need to dump off ACCEL to increase or decrease its level, and that comes up quite often, so that's why it's at minimum 2. And then you have like your one-ofs that are like particular in the way they function within the deck. Because there's times where you have Overtake at a 7, and most of the time it's going to be either Witch or it's going to be a KASHTIRA card. So you have an SD line there, ACCEL, Single Structure Dragon. So you can just go like Overtake, Furnier, Overtake, ACCEL, Single Structure Dragon, Chain 1, Chain 2, right? Jet will search you your Junk Servant, because whenever it's Synchro Summoned with, you can add a Junk Monster. So you add this, and then now you have ACCEL, you have this, and then you can normal summon this, right? And then you have immune speeder that way. That's why you play it. And then of course you have Trail. She's amazing. Gives you a token, which is pretty cool. She usually helps you make your Dispatter by synchro climbing through ACCEL, and this is what I was referring to, that you need to be able to dump another Stardust to make ACCEL level 9, and then she'll give you a token, and that'll give you the levels required. And of course, usually just turn into Hyper Labyrinth because of Illumination Summon. And then of course you have your triple Overtake, because it's just really good in the sense that you don't solely rely on Witch. Because there are times where Witch gets negated because they think you're playing Snake Eye, so they want to stop her, or they're in fear of deception, so like they want you to get to it. So this helps with that, and it's a good extender because sometimes you have to use the Jet search, so you can't pitch for Jet. So being able to revive Jet with this is pretty cool. It comes up a lot. And then of course you have your Illumination for Stardust Search and Stardust Trail, and of course Rumble. Rumble's a searcher. This card was insane all day. There were times where I was doing like half boards, and I was getting to a point because like you have sevens and 4s, but the 4 I'm referring to Stardust can turn into a 5, which gives you access to Crimson Dragon. And then of course you have your Wanted package. You have your Triple Witch, Triple Wanted, and of course your OSS. This is just basically access to your Jet Synchron, and it facilitates your ACCEL Synchro Structure Dragon's Synchro Summon attempt because it makes immune speeder. 7-in-1. It just makes it to where they have to open up a particular set of hand traps to stop that play, which is very difficult to do. And of course, this is where I play the KASHTIRA engine. This was carrying all day. Like, especially Unicorn. Unicorn, being able to rip extra cards is insane. It's basically like a Solomon in a way. Like, like, I was hitting sequences and SPs. There was a line versus the Fiendsmith Snake Eye, not Fiendsmith KASHTIRA card, where he had like Desiree in a back row and like a bunch of hand traps. So I start my turn with this, and I know that he has the set Reborn for the Unchained thing. So I'm like, okay, well let's get rid of the SP because I don't really care about anything else. So I go summon this, activate effect, let's all this resolve, and then I search Birth. I go Battle Phase. I run into Desiree. And I go effects, rip the SP, and he's like, okay. And then this dies, and I go end battle phase evenly. That burns the Desiree, and I just full combo after. I'm like, that's insane. That's so good. That's like so good. And then of course you have Triple Fenrir. Like this is pretty good. Like the fact that these are like self-sufficient within themselves is what makes this deck pretty cool. Because the thing with Synchron variants, or just any Synchron deck, is that if the non-tuner isn't self-sufficient, right? Like if you can't like just play off of this with hand traps, then what other functionality would they have, right? They would just be bodies. And it's kind of like what you want to avoid with any Synchron variant. Unless it, like, it facilitates consistency to a certain degree, then it's fine that they don't really do anything because they're resilient enough to like just keep getting bodies out after you get spot removal or you get interacted with, right? But other than that, like you need the cards that are self-sufficient. Like Adventure, you can function off Adventure without having to like actually synchro. I mean, it's not the best play, but like the fact that it's possible that you can like just like control the tempo with Adventure and hand traps, right? The same thing with this. If you can control tempo with this and hand traps, and then eventually get to your Synchron attempts, then that's just what you want for a non-tuner engine. And then of course you play in your personal planet. You play this because it's a 60 card deck. You want to be able to have the chances of seeing these cards. And then of course, it just works so well because you search off this, search this, right? And then it just facilitates her. Or like you don't have her cost basically feels free. Like it's like you're not really depleting yourself. And of course you play just the one birth. Just because you want to search it. You don't play more than one. Like you just need the one, just so you can search it off of this. Because one of the things I noticed that when I was playing multiple is that you just see this with like your other cards, like this is nothing. So like you just want to just once you can search off of that. But there are times where I contemplate it because there are times where, like I'm like, oh crap, if I had another birth, I'd be in a better position. But it's like those games vary, so it's like it's not like too crucial. And then this is what makes up majority of the 60 card thing, right? So like you have your Nibiru. You have Ash, you have Ogre, I ended up cutting this because I completely forgot about Foolish. I wasn't playing Foolish, but then Nick in the member chat, it was like, oh, what about Foolish? I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Foolish. Because this card is so versatile, you know? It's not the sense of, it's a 1 of 60. No, you categorize it with the rest of cards, right? Like you categorize this with like you think of this as like part of this, right? So instead of 6, it's 7 type of thing. You know what I mean? Like that's how you view it as. Your triple Veiler, triple Droll, and triple Imperm. It's just because the engine is so big, right? It's so big, right? Like you could make the argument like, okay, you can like play less planets, you can play less unicorns, like play one unicorn. You know what I mean? Like, but like, if cards are meant to do a particular thing, it shouldn't really affect the consistency, right? Like it just shouldn't. Because I didn't break all day. Like what I mentioned before. Like if the times where I didn't combo, the non-tuner engine was self-sufficient in keeping me in the game, so it was perfectly fine. Them being tuners was pretty insane because like I would go like into Cheng Ying, like I would have like my friend and stuff. And then I would go Cheng Ying. It's like, which is it's so cool because of these guys. And then the control with Omega. I was like, dude, that's crazy. Side deck. The side deck is very self-explanatory. You have your triple. This is for whenever you go first. Triple tactics. Cross out. Call by the Grave. And then for whenever you go second, you have Dark Ridders, Storms, and Evilly Matched. So depending on the matchups, you side like cards out. Like generally, what I would always keep like these 6 in for sure, because this is good. This is good whenever you go first or second, and this is just well, it depends. If the matchup calls for it, then you take this out. But for the most part, it's just like it's like a lingering floodgate. Like they can't mold their hand to a particular point where they can consistently get to where they need to be. So this is like this draw paired with an Imperm or an Ash is huge. Sometimes take out the Veiler, sometimes take out the Mourner, sometimes take out the Ogre. So like, it varies, right? But no, it's something it's matchup dependent. you kind of have to like gauge to see what you need and what you don't need, but like you'll kind of get the idea of what you want to take out. And then we have the extra deck, the fun part, right? This is the whole point of the deck. You have your Crimson, you have your Double Shooting Majestic, SMSD. Of course, you have your Punisher, just to target off that. It's so cool. You have your Spider, you have your Changying, you have your Crystal Wing, you have your Omega. I need to get a QCR, bro. And then, of course, these cards are amazing. This like the... Okay, so I've always said in the past, the only reason this deck is good is because of this. If this card was not here, oh my god, this deck would just not be good. It'd be too vulnerable, it'd be too fragile. Stardust, because you want to use the effect. Stardust Charge, because we play so many hand traps that like getting that one draw sometimes makes the biggest difference. And yeah, you need it for a synchro climb to not make it awkward. Because there are times where you have your Assault Synchron and you want to get to the graveyard, but you want to trigger his effect and you want to be able to revive another body with Assault, reviving him. So yeah, for that reason you do it. TG, because you have so many hand traps that the thing about this deck is most people will say, oh yeah, Dark Wheeler evenly GG, right? But because you have this, you're just gonna be drawing like all of your hand traps, right? So you're not just gonna be reliant on your board. You're gonna rip twice, right? And if they end up like Dark Wielding evenly matching you, then it means you can keep one, right? So most often than not, you're gonna keep like an SMSD, and then you're gonna hand trap them to death. Like you evenly match me, okay? Then I just have like 5 hand traps still because you draw so much, you know. And then like, what do you do there? Like what? Like what? What do you do? It's over. And then Jet Synchro because of overtake. Jet Warrior. Speeder, of course, MVP. And then ACCEL, this card is insane. Like being able to dump any Synchron. Because there are times where like you go for this to dump like a Stardust, to dump a Jet, a Rev, an Assault. Like there are times where like, you just do that. And just to play around certain interactions and then finally get to a Speeder is like so cool. And then of course you have your tokens. But yeah. Yeah, it was the deck worked quite well. Like 60 cards, just try it. It didn't break at all. Like, this is crazy. Because because what I mentioned before is like the engine is so big that you kind of have to like oversaturate it with hand traps because you do want to be interactive, right? Because the engine itself is resilient to a certain point, but like you just need like those 2 hand traps to kind of like simplify a bit, to allow your Fenrir to pick it apart for your Draco bounce, you know, like just enough. You just need like to remove like 2 or 3 interactions that they could possibly have, right? And the handers do that for you, right? Because like there's a lot of times where I open like 3 or 4 hand traps and I open up this and then I top deck overtake. I was like, oh shit, that's making it insane. And it was over. Like, it was cool. But yeah, that's basically the list. I'll show you guys a combo. So the entire point of this deck is to resolve Junk Speeder, right? And very rarely will you ever just go Speeder without protection and it'll resolve. Which is why you need to make sure that you have a way to make this guy. Set this up to make him unaffected by any interaction. That's why you have so many 7s in your deck with the KASHTIRA cards and the Sinful Spoils cards, because it facilitates this guy. Because this guy is insane. There is the argument that you could take another route and play Herald, because this plays around certain cards. But going second, you would almost always go for this. Because there are some... Going first, this has its merits. Like, you can play around Draw, play around Veiler, stuff like that. But going second into a board, I think this one is preferable, because Herald is like just there, so they can like interact with it right away preemptively, like imperm this to nullify the negation, whereas this one is like, it's a bit obscure. So we're going to be covering up this one because it's just a more consistent way to summon this guy. You can get to this guy easier than you can with this one. And I know by now you guys have seen the rights and overtake by now. You guys have seen that. But for this combo, I want to show you guys just why we play the KASHTIRA cards and the Wanted and why you play the Junk Servant. because it allows you to have combo without having to see the adventure stuff, which is pretty cool. And you'll see it now because it's pretty awesome. All right, so here I start with Planet. Usually Planet will search you your Fenrir, right? I mean, there are some cases where you can do that. But for this, we're going to be summoning out Unicorn because we want to get the birth in rotation, right? To be able to revive turn after turn. So we're going to go for that, okay? So we'll add Unicorn. We'll summon Unicorn, effective Unicorn, giving us our birth, okay? And then now we'll use Sinful Spoils, giving us Witch. And then now we have already used the search, send the planets for the Witch, which then sets our original Sinful Spoils. And then we're going to go ahead and use effect of original, sending the Witch, because you want to make sure that if they do interact with you, then you can rip their extra deck. And this is why overtake is so crucial, because sometimes they do stop her and you don't have access to this. So then you just go overtake and then continue your play. So then now you summon your Jet Synchron and you synchro into your ACCEL Synchro Stardust Dragon. Summon, and you can dodge impulse here by going chain 1, chain 2. It'll give you servant. Summon this back. There has been some times where I'm like, oh, what the hell? What if I play a hat tricker? Because like, you know how if you use your normal summon it's quite devastating if you get in your beard, right? You get a special hat tricker, then you know you can just like maybe it'll be more beneficial because you can summon a Synchron if you need to. Okay, so you just normal summon this. And this is where it's vulnerable. They just Nibiru you here. You just chain this, so you're fine. But if they chain to the effect, that's where the argument is where, okay, this is a bit better in a sense. You can stop that, but I mean, if they have double hand trap, and you're losing anyways. So now you go into Stardust, and then you go into your Speeder. And now it is unaffected. So from here on out, it makes any interaction a bit mediocre. Like it'll vary on how they can use it and have it be effective. So you summon 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on summon, Stardust Synchron will trigger, adding you Illumination. And you still have the revive off of this, which is going to be pretty important later on in the combo. Okay, so remember, we want to get the TG as fast as possible. So just in case they have an interaction that they're trying to use or they can possibly use, you just kind of like eliminate that. It has to be a monster hand drop though, because you're going to be stopping it with Crystal Wing. Okay, then that can dodge the Ash on this, which is huge. So activate Illumination. Since you control a Stardust Dragon or a Synchro that mentions it, you can summon it instead of sending it to the graveyard. And then this is where you get your TG set up and you start drawing cards to reinforce your board, so you don't lose like Dark Ruler or Droplet, you know, evenly, stuff like that. You summon your TG. You then go into your Crimson. So chain 1, chain 2, giving you Rumble, giving you a draw. You then go effect of Stardust, tributing your Assaults, and then it triggers your Trail. And then this is where you activate Birth, effective Birth, reviving your Unicorn. This is where the 7s and 4s start to show their significance. So this gets banished, back to grave, and you go for Punisher. You draw. You then use the effect of Revolution Synchron. Keep in mind that you've used the effect of search, you can't pitch for him. So you mill a card, it doesn't matter what it is, just mill a card. And then this synchros into your ACCEL Synchron. So chain 1, chain 2, giving you a token, draw the card. And then this will dump your second Stardust. This is what I was referring to, where you need to dump it to make it level 9 to then get access to your Dispatter. Because usually the way you make Dispatter, it's through like this and this, or a level 1 of this after you milled and you reduce the Stardust, or I mean increase the Stardust. But in this case, we just do it this way. Give me another card. You could have used this at any given time the moment you summon it, by the way. You know, you could have done it. But just like, I wanted to avoid drawing into the Stardust, right? So like, that would be one more draw before it got to him, type of thing. It's very niche, like it's very minimal, but like, you know, you do it that way. And I can use the effect of this, like that, to Majestic, get another draw. And then now you go Rumble, reviving your Jet. Okay. This Puncher's gone, making your Crimson again. Draw another card. And then now you use Effective Spatter, reviving your Stardust. And this is where the illumination effect comes up as well. So right here, you can either go into Omega or you can go into your Chengyu. I guess it's matchup dependent, right? Because you're gonna have 3 Omnis because this will summon another one on their turn, and because this banishes itself for the effect, it'll trigger your Assault Synchron. And Assault Synchron reads whenever one of your Dragon Synchros is banished or tributed, you can banish this and special summon it back. So that's pretty insane already. So I guess depending on what you're going up against, you can just rip right away. I guess go into Omega, rip, and then keep it on field, and then return your trail. Because there are some instances where that is quite relevant. But yeah, we can just go into Omega, rip, and now he's alive, right? And yeah, and then that's basically the combo. On their turn, you use this for this guy, right? And then you would have drawn like a lot of cards as well. Like you would have just drawn like hand traps, or like, you know, and yeah, that's basically the combo for Wanted and Planet. This is pretty cool. It is an Adventure Synchron list, but by now you guys have already probably seen like Adventure Synchron, like the right combos so much that, you know, this one's not really like been showcased enough. But generally, like that's essentially what you're trying to do. Just get to Immune Speeder and resolve close enough to this board as possible. Doesn't matter how you do it, because there's so many ways to do it, whether it be this route, whether it be overtake and this, whether it be this and overtake, whether it be right and over, you know, so it'll vary. But like the fact that you can do it consistently, right? That's why it's okay if it's a hard card deck, because you want to have all these hand traps for different type of matchups, right? You can change the extra deck however you see fit, right? You don't necessarily have to play these extra deck cards. You can change it up, and your combo will vary. But this is just the combo that I was using, and it was working quite fine. Very rarely like you deviate from this, right? The only difference would be whether you play the SMSDs and the Punishers, right? But for the most part, this is like quite standard playing this. You're always going to have to be playing these two for sure. Librarian, I guess some people prefer not to play it. I like for the fact that it reinforces your board because it gets you hand traps, you know, and it just solidifies your placement. But yeah, it'll vary. The combos will vary, but yeah, that's gonna be it. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let's subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for watching.